Welcome to RGBA, colorful tech news and reviews. This is episode 74. My name is Alexandre Valère-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tara Minard. After a week of problems for Apple, last week was probably the one with the most problems for a long time for Apple. We had the macOS security bug, we had the iOS restart problem with local notifications, and we were hoping that this week would be quiet, and probably Apple is the one that was hoping that the most. It so happened that there was another problem with security with Apple. This time it's a 0-day iOS HomeKit vulnerability that was allowing people to have remote access to your HomeKit devices, including locks. So that is the kind of worst thing that our modern era Gadget 3 can have, basically. Most people have light switches and bulbs, so that's not too bad. But when you start adding stuff like garage door or even just a lock on your front door, that's when those hacks can be quite effective and full of consequences. You had to have at least one iPhone or one iPad on iOS 11.2. So that's the OS that was released just around this corner to fix the iOS problem. That's one of the thing you had to have, and I think it's already fixed. Yeah, it's already been fixed, and there's always the temporary fix of disabling remote access. So if you have a iPhone with HomeKit and a bunch of devices, until you can get your hands on the fix, because Apple says that they fixed it, but it's probably just not released yet. It probably has to go through the QA as usual. But if you already have this iOS 11.2 and HomeKit devices, just disable remote access. So you won't be able to turn your lights on or off from outside of your home. So that's one quick fix for now.
And also, the dangerous part is that it's a HomeKit that was vulnerable, not just your specific garage door opener or specific lock. It was the whole thing. So that's pretty scary also.
Yeah, so if you're one of the guys that went into the Apple Store online website and purchased all of the HomeKit devices, then you're probably the target of most of the risk. Because regular people, not geeks like us, they start to have maybe one device, one switch, or one bulb, very few things. So it's not that dangerous. But for geeks like us who start to embrace HomeKit enabled or Alexa enabled or whatever, they tend to start with switches, but that was like 2 years ago. So this year they have locks, they have cameras, they have like music players, they have blinds, they have everything can be automated now. So yeah, imagine being hacked and somebody from the outside start to play around with your lines in your lights and flashes your lights and unlock your door and opens the garage door and during the night. Yeah, so that can be quite a nightmare.
Do you have any HomeKit devices?
Only one. It's a security camera, which I don't really like. I still have to do my review of it, but it's the D-Link UMA, I think it's called. It's basically just a camera, and there's like no features. Like basically, it has HomeKit compatibility, so I can see my live feed from the camera, but there's no alerting. There's no smart features. Like it's basically records only when something moves, but there's no way for me to know about it, like with a notification or anything. And there's no cloud storage, so if I want to see the content, I have to be in my house. So it's very limited, and it's also very expensive. So I think it's one of the last one that required the Apple hardware to work with HomeKit. So that's why it's probably more expensive. But yeah, it's the only one I have. The rest I have is all Belkin stuff. So they have their own little app. So like my front lights, got a couple light switches. And I have ones I rarely use for the Insight, which is the to look at your power consumption. So if you're thinking that such device is wasting energy, You can plug it in and see how much it costs you per day, per month, or per year. So that's all fun, but there's I don't have any locks or blinds or garage door openers, so none of that. So I'm still safe.
I'm looking to getting lights for the new house. There's like this big, not promotions, yeah, but promotion going on Hue lights, and everybody's talking about Hue lights for some reason. And colleagues at work are buying Hue lights, so I might try like the default white pack there.
No colors.
No, the starter kit, the white one.
Okay, yeah. If I were to do that, I would get the colors because that's how you can get like nice accents colors in your house. Or if you get the white kits, you can get those little. I think they make like table lights or some bulbs or whatever that you can hide around in your house, like in corners, and that can give you like a good atmosphere feeling. So
I'm looking to wake up with lights, with the white light.
Yeah, that also can work.
That's what I want to do. Want to try at least.
Cool. All right. So another app that was not as negative. This one is quite fun. It's the Apple Store app on your iOS device. Just basically open the app, do a search for Let It Snow, and you can see a nice little Easter egg. So
that's not Apple. It's not like Apple to do that. You'd see that from Google usually, but you never see that from Apple.
True. They're not the kind of put like extra man hours on stuff like that. So there might be a change going at Apple. We don't know.
Yeah, or they might want to work on High Sierra instead of this.
Yeah, well, they should probably, yeah. Yeah, don't start me with High Sierra. I had so much problems over the last couple of weeks. Thankfully, the podcast recording was not affected too much, but I had a weird problem where whenever I was starting a recording, it can be like Skype or Zoom or Audio Hijack, anything. My audio would be like garbage. Like it would be like full of static and crunchy noise and everything. And the only way I could find to remove that would be to unplug and replug my USB interface like a couple times. And after each time, I would try and see if the recording was good. But that gave me so much problems. And now, this week, I see a nice little update from macOS High Sierra that says that they fixed a problem with third-party audio hardware. Man, I was pissed. Having so much troubles for the last couple of weeks is because of this damn High Sierra update. I kind of want to go back to Sober Sierra now.
Yeah, I like that name, Sober Sierra.
Yeah, well, he's way too high for me. All right, one more app that went very high in the ranking this week is the Amazon Prime Video. It finally came back to the Apple TV, and Apple even launched released a press update on his newsroom. So that's how much it's important to them. We still don't see any Apple TV being sold on Amazon, so I don't know what the deal is really exactly. But basically, this brand new app looks a lot more like the regular Apple TV apps. So you have horizontal bars you can scroll. But the weird thing is that it's not exactly the same thing. Like if you go into TV app or if you go like into Infuse or any other like Good Citizen app, I would say, they use the Apple TV controls for that. But Amazon, they kind of like made their own thing. Like it works the same way. So you have horizontal bars by categories and everything. But the feeling is not the same. So I'm guessing that they probably redid it themselves. So it's like the uncanny valley. So it looks close to, but it's not quite there. So it's quite bizarre.
I didn't try it yet on the Apple TV. It's available also on the iPhone or just iOS in general, I think.
Yeah, but it was already there, but it was not being updated for a while because the update was blocked into review.
Okay.
So now they released the update, so that's what you have now.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's just me guessing. Maybe they did the app a while back when they only had like screenshots of the new Apple TV. And that's why it looks like it, but it's not exactly the same thing. And since then, they didn't put any effort on it because they didn't know if it was going to be released eventually or not. But now that it's released, maybe they're going to push an update that's going to bring it back to the same level of interactivity that the regular Apple TV apps allow. I'm just crossing my fingers for that.
Do you think they released this update for the new season of the Grand Tour, the big show that they bought 2 years ago.
I don't think Apple cares.
No, not Apple, Amazon.
Well, the problem was that they did updates for your apps, but it was stuck into review process. It was being refused by Apple. Some rumors say that because Amazon stopped selling some Apple devices, like the Apple TV and such, that's why that Apple didn't want to get it, get the update pushed. So the same thing works also with Google right now. You see that Google pulled again the Amazon Echo. Was this thing?
YouTube app on the Echo.
Yeah, the Echo Show. Yeah, those names. And that's because they say that Amazon wants to have YouTube access, but they don't want to sell Chromecast or any other Google devices on their store. Therefore, Google says, why should we provide you with a first citizen level of access? So they just pull the access once again. And then, well, they just keep whining about the other. But basically, it's always comes down to that. If you allow my thing, I will allow you thing. So there's like some kind of a understanding there, an agreement. And for now, we still haven't seen what it is on Amazon side, because we still don't see any Apple devices being sold. So we'll have to see. But yeah. Moving on to a list of nice little things. Apple reveals 2017's most popular apps, music, movies, and more. So you can look into a long list of apps per type, per developer. There's also like a section at the end that it presents you the developers behind the apps. So you can get, there's lots of AR, there's lots of nice Disney movies. So yeah, it's a pretty impressive. Game of the year also, and iPhone app of the year. Yada yada. So it's all there. So if you have a couple of minutes, you can go around and look at this. It's interesting to see what Apple features, and I personally did a few discoveries. So it's pretty interesting to see the nice little apps there that they're made. I haven't looked at the movies and podcasts and whatever, but it's the usual, like Game of Thrones is the best-selling TV show, of course. In terms of movies, it's Moana and Rogue One, which comes as no surprise. And the third one is Wonder Woman. Why? Because it's being showcased everywhere as being 4K HDR. So that's why it's being sold a lot. People want to experiment that, and that's basically the movie to buy to see this in its glory, basically.
And then both the Game of the Year and App of the Year I've never heard of. It's the app is Enlight Video Leap, so it's like a video editor, and the Game of the Year is Splitter Critters. I guess I don't have kids.
Yeah, no, both. I do have kids, and I don't even know what this is. So yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah. Where did you see the app of the year? Because I see Calm as the app of the year.
You see who?
Calm. Best of 2017 app of the year. Calm. It's a health and fitness app to, I guess, breathe and relax and stuff like that.
Nope, that's not what I see. And also, side note, I'm really, really late to the game, but the today view on the App Store is really nice. The articles and all that, it's cool.
Oh yeah.
I've never used them.
Well, I have to make my own mea culpa, is I never use it either. One time I wanted to use it. It was during the beta, and there was content, but the content never changed. So I'm like, okay, nice, done.
But yeah, it's really nice the way it pops up, the article, and then you can, at the end of the article, you get like a little link to go to the app that they're talking about. It's cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice. You're right. Should probably look at this more.
Yeah, me too.
I like the UI with the X on the top right, and when
I don't like
when
the
you
X
scroll,
though. Is there another?
No.
You can't dismiss. You can't dismiss the thing. Oh yeah, you just scroll down, swipe down.
Swipe down from the top, or if you're lower the article, you can just back swipe.
Oh right, okay.
No, it's pretty nice. While you're reading the article, there's a little pop up at the bottom with the app icon and download button, and if you reach the end, like you said, there's a section with the little icon and everything. So yeah, pretty nice. Now that we are done with the iOS 11 features,
Yeah.
so
So
I
2 months old. 2 months old news.
yeah, well, you have to get around it one day, All right, so we now know how to use Apple Cash, Apple Pay Cash. Sorry, thanks to Dan Morin from Six Colors. He was quick to do a little test with Lex Friedman, and he sent him $1. And so yeah, it's a feature we still don't have. I have no clue when it's gonna come. Hopefully, not too late. This is the kind of thing that's pretty easy, especially nowadays. That I don't know if your bank does the same thing, but basically Tangerine for me is being awful lately. Like peer to peer transfer of money, not interact, but like peer to peer used to be like instantaneous between people that accepted each other's contact, whatever. And now it takes like at least 12, if not like 18 hours to be processed. So usually we were doing like sending money to each other and then paying all the bills and everything in the same evening at the same time. But now we have to send the money and then the next day come back and do it. So if this is one way to do it and I can withdraw my money easily without fees or too much fees, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I use Interact transfers a lot between friends. Like we go out for drinks, and then somebody just picks up the bill, and we transfer money at the end. So if we had this through iMessage, it'd be really really nice.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to pay $1 to the banks.
But no, we don't pay. Well, Desjardins, anyways. You don't. It's not $1 anymore. It's free.
But it's not Interact. It's just Desjardins, right?
No, it's Interact is free.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Since
okay.
a couple of months ago.
Okay.
No, because not all my friends are Desjardins necessarily.
Okay. Moving on to the hardware corner, Apple now classifies the 2011 Mac Mini as an obsolete product. So I kind of had like a brain fart when I read this news. I was thinking that they said the current generation Mac Mini that's not been updated for like 3 years as an obsolete product. And I said, how peculiar. They're still selling an obsolete product. But I realized that this does not make sense. Well, not now yet. Maybe in a couple of years if they never update the Mac Mini. The 2014?
I think it's 15 now, the one they're selling right now.
So only 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. Okay, yeah. So the 2015 is still being sold right now. But in 3 years, if it does not get any update, it's going to be listed as obsolete while still being sold. So that's, yeah. But anyways. So yeah, if you ever have repairs to make or everything like that, Apple will not be doing those anymore. I'll let you continue with the Rumours Corner.
My favorite corner. That's why you leave it to me every single week.
Exactly.
So I think it's Bloomberg or no TechCrunch broke the news that Apple is looking into buying Shazam. I forgot all about Shazam, even though like it was one of the first apps I had on my phone, like in 2009 or 8 or whatever when the App Store came out. And then you want to show off your iPhone to friends, you just open Shazam and listen to songs and match songs. It was like the super cool feature. I know now that Siri does it, so I don't use Shazam anymore. So I don't know exactly why they're buying it. Maybe for like the data and everything. But the rumor says that they're buying it for $400 million, which is really not a lot if you ask me.
Well, yes, it's not that much, but still, they raised 143 millions from investors, so they're gonna get a 4x return under investment, which is not bad. It's not a unicorn, so it's not worth $1 billion, but still, it's still very interesting for them. So that's cool. I'm thinking that this might be triggered by Google having the always on listening for songs thing on the Pixel. So maybe Apple will like the same thing. So just pick up your phone, raise to wake, and you can see the name of the song that's playing in the room right now. So that can be a feature that would be very interesting. And the only way to integrate it is to have their very own service. And Apple being Apple, they will not let other companies like get all that privacy data. But they might do it, and they might do it properly. So I think it makes sense. Why Shazam? Personally, I had fun with both Shazam and SoundHound over the years. I went back and forth from one to the other, and oftentimes I had both installed. And whenever I was using one to find a song, and not often, but sometimes it wouldn't work, especially for remixes or cover songs that are maybe a bit more obscure. Then I would switch to the other. And depending on the year, the UI was also more interesting one side or the other. They started to add features like crazy at one time, and I was basically lost in the Shazam UI, and I went to SoundHound for that, which was more streamlined and minimal. But now they're both full of like buy on iTunes, get those, go to I don't know the artist page or whatever, and it's just I just want to know like the song that's playing. So just tell me that and that's it. But they try to do much more and try to be like a go to our app to find music news and stuff like that. So I don't know how much it's gonna still be used in the Apple ecosystem. I'm guessing they might not use it at all, except for the song recognition feature. So that would make sense for me. I would like to have this feature on iOS on my lock screen with a just raise to wake and see that the song that's playing is this without needing to unlock the phone, go in some app, wait like 20 seconds for it to scan, and then get my answer.
Yeah, so I still have both installed. I just opened them both, and like first impressions, I haven't opened them in a couple of years. Maybe I don't know why they're still here because I always use Siri instead. But Shazam is a lot more. It's a lot cleaner, a lot nicer than SoundHound. SoundHound has this big ad for the Google Pixel 2 at the bottom and everything. Compared to the Shazam, is just the blue screen with the tap to Shazam. And I just like that it's a verb. Like you can Google it, but you can Shazam it. You can't SoundHound hit. It's just
see that's why you can't. It's not pronounceable.
Yeah.
Sound on it doesn't make sense.
But for a little while, it was like a verb. Like people say, "Hey, what's that song?" Oh, let me Shazam it. But we don't hear that anymore.
No, but still, the word is cool. Like Shazam, it's full of glamour and sparkling.
Yeah.
And then we learned that our favorite top designer now has new responsibilities.
Yeah. So this is Bloomberg. So apparently Johnny Ive is gonna regain like the management of the design team. I think 2 years ago he became this weird CT design guy. What is it? What's his
I don't know. It's always chief design officer.
Yeah, that's it. CDO, whatever that
CDO,
means.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. So since he's been CDO, I think he was removed from the responsibility of like the day-to-day of the management team, and I guess he's coming back. So people have been really vocal on Twitter about how Apple design lately has been going down or whatever. And there was a couple of nice tweets like, oh, he finally got like a piece of dust caught under his spacebar, or he finally noticed there's no headphone jack on an iPhone, and he was like, wait, what's happening? I have to go back, or something like that.
If it was that simple.
Yeah. So I guess this is good. I hope it's good. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I don't know if, it might be a bad thing too. Like right now, we're just seeing the products that were designed 2-3 years ago. So everything that he designed is basically on the market. I'm guessing that any upcoming computer like the iMac Pro, he was not involved as much because he was on Apple Park. So there might be hope for that. So we might see ports, we might see headphone jacks. But it would be weird. Let's imagine that right now all our devices have fewer ports and fewer types of ports. And starting with the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, we start to see more ports. And for like 2 years, and then in 2 years, we start to go back the same route as going down ports and making everything like symmetric and everything. So that would be weird. That would like really mean that he's the one trying to close all those little holes on our devices, and just for the sake of design and not for the sake of utility. So yeah, that would be weird. Hopefully it's not the case. I'm just daydreaming, but that's weird.
I don't know what this is going to mean in the long term or short term, whatever. I don't know if there's they just realized there's a problem with like the laptops, or but I'm like, what, he never saw the laptops and now he's going to fix it. So I don't understand how this one guy is going to have such a big impact on like the future of laptops. And then and also what I don't like is if something happens and if it gets better, we're all going to say it's because of Johnny Ive.
Yeah, I don't think it's because he's back that we will now see better keyboards on MacBooks and stuff like that. I think it's the opposite. Basically, what keyboards we have now were designed maybe 2 years ago, or at least envisioned 2 years ago. They probably were not made 2 years ago, but the design, the thickness, and the way the keys are placed, the lack of a inverted T-shape arrows, all this was decided by a design team a while back, which he was probably part of it. Now that he's back, I don't think it's going to fix anything. I think he's just done with the Apple Park, and every little knob is installed, every chair is placed, every desk is installed. So he's okay, good to go. Go back to my old responsibilities. So also you have to know that Johnny Ives is like a stray electron. He doesn't like to do one thing, so he does something else. So he has this mighty power at Apple where if he's not happy, then they're going to do everything to please him. So he wasn't happy maybe with computers, and he found that designing a building would be much more fun. So he basically went and did that. And he was replaced by, I think, two guys who were his direct reports, and they handled everything while he was out. So, yep, I think there's not much there now. Hopefully it won't change for the worse.
So App Corner, it's like what is it called? App Corner. How do you describe App Corner? It's not always there, but it has a recurring role in this series if you want. So the app this week, the new app that I installed is called Swatches. It's I think it plays a bit with the VR kit or AR kit, sorry. So Swatches, it's a camera, and it gives you the color of any object you can point your camera at, and it gives you the Pantone color, the Benjamin Moore color, RGBA, and hex. So if you work in any design or any sort, or I'm currently painting a house or looking to paint a house, so I'm going to be playing a lot with this. I was just taking like stuff at work and my pants and whatever, just trying to get colors, and it's really cool. The interface is really clean. It's really simple. You just open it up, you're straight in the camera app, you take a picture of the color, and voila, you have your swatches.
Nice. I wish I had that when I bought my houses.
When I bought my houses, just sounds like you had multiple at the same time.
Yeah, okay, no, not that quite.
I know what you mean.
But yeah, when you have a color in front of you, you like this color or whatever, you want to keep it. And if or sometimes it's just, you just walk by something with a nice color and you just want to save that color. So that's the perfect thing for that.
Yeah, we're going to go shopping for like furniture and all that. So I'm going to have the swatches of our walls on the phone. So, and then I can take like color swatches of the couch. So I can catalog it, and I'll keep it to compare afterwards.
Yeah. You can also bring the iPad and have it sit on the couch and see if it was the back wall. What would it look like?
I was about to say, I don't know if they have an iPad app, but I'll check, and that's a very good idea.
Yeah, well, worst case, it's a stretched up iPhone app, but it's going to work. All right, moving on to Review Corner. So this week I've got two little things for you guys. The first is, now that I have a MacBook Pro 2017 at work, basically my life is now Dongle Town. So I have to bring a lot of dongle with me. I had a drawer full of cables and, not cables, just dongles, and realized that I could probably like put them all nice and tidy inside a single thing. And I didn't want to use that good old freezer Ziploc bag. So the Bookbook CaddySack, it's a little holder for all your dongles and cables. That is part of the Bookbook series. So that's the series where 12 South makes iPad cases or MacBook cases in the shape of old books. So they are leather wrapped and everything. So they look very nice. And I have it right next to me, the CaddySack. And it really is perfect. Like, it's just the right thickness. You can put like a power brick inside it, and you can put a bunch of cables. If you only have cables, like me, I don't carry off my power brick with me. I prefer to have all my dongles in one single thing. It's a bit thicker for nothing, but I understand why it's that thick. There's a bunch of Velcro straps. There's a bunch of elastic straps. There's even a little pouch where you can put all the small ones. Like I added recently because I have a power brick that fell at home for my wife's computer, and we had a MagSafe 1 to MagSafe 2 adapter. So that's the cheapest and smallest thing you can buy out of the Apple Store. Basically, I didn't want to lose it. So that's the perfect place to put it. As you can see in the link in the show notes, I added a bunch of USB-C and Thunderbolt adapters in there. There's a VGA thing, there's an Ethernet, there's USBs, there's Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3. So everything fits nicely. There's even place for Thunderbolt USB-C cables, and yeah, it's great. It's very simple. It's very flexible. So it looks very nice. You can even store it in a bookshelf right next to your books, and it really goes away visually. Or you can leave it on your desk, and it looks like you have a book on your desk. So it's also pretty nice. So yeah, that's high quality stuff. Very nice. It's a bit pricey, I would say, but if you want a case that looks nice and that is made of quality materials, that's kind of what you get. Otherwise, get a Ziploc bag, which will be awful, but it's also another solution.
Whoa, you got like all the dongles.
Yeah, man, Dongle Town. Yeah, and I think that's not even all of my dongles. There's more than that because I have a few that I don't really carry every day, like the VGA. I don't care, so I removed it. But just for the sake of that photo, I put a bunch more that I don't have in my daily carry. But, yeah, it's
Daily carry.
well, it's that's basically it. You have to carry this daily if you want to work. Because at work I have they provided me with a Thunderbolt 2 to Thunderbolt 3, so I can use my Thunderbolt display. They provided us with a little Satichi hub, which has a bunch of cables, but I don't find it super reliable, so I only use it for like my USB accessories, like my mouse, my Logitech mouse receiver, my headset mouse receiver, not mouse, but my headset receiver, and a couple of things like that. And I have my very own USB-C to USB-A adapters when I plug my phone or when I plug like USB keys or whatever. So that's what I have to carry every day. So it's there's a bunch of things you need to carry. So I also took this opportunity to clean up my desk and have everything in one single place. I don't need like 4 USB cables. I only need one. So I took the thickest one, the one that looks like to be the best quality, and that's the one I set in my Bookbook. So yeah, pretty nice. So moving on to another review. This one is the Stargate 3DS. I've been on a mailing list for more than a year, I think, from a Chinese company who are making flashcards for 3DS. So these are basically cartridge size little thingies that you have in your DS with a micro SD card on which you can put ROMs and play ROMs. So the usual thing is this is a lifesaver when you have kids and you go like into trips or whatever, and you don't want to bring like 20 cartridges with you. And because every time I did this in the past, I lost at least one. So this is a lifesaver for me, so I can get all my son's games into one single memory card inside the one single cartridge size thing, and I don't need to take along boxes and risk losing games, and just plug and play. The thing is super simple to configure. You take your micro SD card, you copy a couple files on it, and you copy your ROMs on it. You put it into the little cartridge. You put it inside your 3DS. You start it up, and it's going to mimic. I think the way they did it, I don't know because I haven't read exactly how they did it, but guessing from what I know about the DS hacking and everything, they are basically, I think they reverse engineer the signature of a game, which is called Alex Rider. And they are basically using that signature to make the 3DS think that the game is legit. So, but the cool thing is, you don't need to use any menu system or like a shortcut that asks you to press like 10 buttons at once to go back to the menu. Everything is plug and play. So once the cartridge inside the DS, on the cartridge itself, there's 2 little buttons like left and right. And when you click those buttons, you cycle through your games. So let's say you have 3 games. Then the first one pops up. Then you click. Then it takes about a second, and it's exactly the same thing as if you were pulling out the cartridge and putting a new one inside. So it does exactly that. And you have the second game that appears, and third games, and fourth games, and so on. So for parents and for backup purposes, that is a must-have. Of course, you need to scour the internet and try to find exactly where to download those games. It's not that easy to find those ROMs because one thing that I was surprised to realize is that the 3DS ROMs are quite big. I got my son has a, what's it called? Pokemon Sun game, and that game was like 2.1 gig. So it's not the usual ROMs that you're used to download that are like 50 megs or 100 megs or whatever. So these have to be bigger. On my review unit, it's a pre-prod unit, so it's not the final firmware version, which will come out in a couple of weeks, basically. I have only FAT and FAT32 file systems allowed. Therefore, games over 2 gigs don't work. So that's why I was only able to copy the games I own that are under 2 gigs. But I was assured that this is a feature using exFAT as the file system, which will be supported in the latest version. And I was also told that I could get a firmware update to my Stargate in the future to get this feature in. Because as small as the cartridges are, there's also a third thing on the cartridge itself. There's a micro USB port. So you can basically plug that thing in your computer and you can run a software to flash it and install a new firmware update on it. So yeah, it's pretty impressive what we've seen over the years. I've been using this a long time ago in the DS days for the exact same reason. I had my daughter who was younger and she was playing those games and I didn't want her to carry around 20 games. I do keep my boxes and everything, but still, just because when I was a kid, I lost Game Boy games and then I lost DS games when I was older and 3DS games the last time we did a trip with multiple games. So every single time I take a trip and I bring multiple games, I lose games. So what I told my kids is now you put in one game in the console and you go with this for a week or whatever the time we go over vacation. So they were not happy with that, but that's the price to pay if you don't want to lose the game. But now with this little thing, I can copy the games I legally own onto it and I'm good to go. So that's perfect.
But they don't play it with the Switch yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
I know, and I would just want to mock you or play with you.
If there was a way to, when you buy a physical game, to also get a download code for the same game virtually, that would be the best. Because I know people like Federico Vitici or iMike, they do exactly that. They buy the game physically because they want to have a physical copy, but they also buy the digital version because they don't want to be swapping games constantly. So that's one way to do it, but that should be like, if you bought the game physically, you should be able to get a download code also to use it and download the game again.
Or just a way to load it onto your memory.
Yeah. Copy everything there. So there should be like you're right, like not a download mode, but like a mode where you can copy the whole cartridge on the drive. That could also work, true. You don't need to get download codes or fear of people sharing codes or selling one game and then somebody else downloads it. So, yeah, interesting. All right, so the Stargate 3DS is in pre-order right now, so there will be links in the show notes if you want to buy it right now. In the US, it's at $94, so that's the card itself without any memory card. You need to buy your own micro SD if you want. So, yeah, for now, it's pretty surprising that the way that it works. It's super easy. For parents, it's the perfect thing. You don't need to learn anything about like copying signatures from another game and then spoofing something else. It's just like you get a zip, you download a couple files on your SD card, you add your ROMs, and that's it. You're good to go. So it's really just plug and play. So that's perfect. I'm guessing that eventually we'll see resellers that are also selling it with memory cards with the software pre-installed. So that would be even better. And I'm also reading that you can have also it to run emulated games. So if you have NES, SNES, GBA, that would also work. So I haven't tried this yet because what I was provided for my review was the card itself and the probably an older version of the firmware, which had only the capability of running games. So I don't know about the emulation yet. All right, so going outside, I've been running on skateboards lately. I've been trying to push my fall season as long as possible. We still don't have any snow. We have a couple of days of snow, but it was always melting, so I was pretty safe for that. I got, first of all, the Winboard that I spoke about recently on the show here. This is, I will say it directly, it's a piece of crap. Seriously, I've rarely seen a product that is as bad as this one. The trend right now is to make skateboards, so people of all fields of engineering are jumping on this and trying to make a buck out of it. I can understand. It's just that I'm quite tired of skateboards being made by people who don't write skateboards. So let me explain. So the Winboard GTM8 is a compact 30-inch long skateboard. But first of all, it's a plank of wood that is rigid. So there's no flex, there's no feeling of skateboardiness on this. Also, I don't know what they did, probably because it's a thick piece of wood or whatever, but the vibrations, they get to your legs crazy. So even though it's small and nimble and you can carve easily, that's one of the best feature of it, is you can carve easily, you can do like quick turns and stuff like that. So that's perfect. But the riding experience gets tiresome after a couple of minutes of riding because everything goes through your legs. I even tried to add shock pads to it to minimize the number of the amount of vibration going through my legs, and that barely did a difference. I even changed some of the bearings to try to, I don't know, like make it go faster or smoother or whatever, and there's nothing to do basically. It's too short, it's too thick, there's nothing for it. But my main gripe with this product is that when I got it out, I got it and I rode it maybe 4 times. I think I did less than 10 kilometers on it, and then it stopped working. It would power on, the remote would power on, I would see the blinking lights, and then they would blink slowly, which means that they connected, and everything seemed fine. But when I would push the throttle, like nothing would be turning in terms of wheels. So something in the board broke that prevented the wheels from turning. So after discussions, videos, and photos to the manufacturer, I was able to get another board replaced, like more than a month later, basically. And when I installed the board, it worked for a couple of weeks again, and then same problem again, it stopped working. I went around the internet and I found some other people that bought Winboards, and they had the same problem after a while. The board was dying. I think the reason behind this is that because it's so thick and so prone to vibrations, that the vibration themselves probably mess some components of the board, and that's why it breaks. You have to understand that if you remove the back panel of the board, what you see is basically a PCB right there, with all the capacitors and everything exposed. So there's no casing, there's no like padding, nothing. So if you run on potholes or whatever and you feel the vibrations and sometimes they hurt your legs, you can be sure that the board itself has the exact same impact that you do. So I'm pretty sure that what happens is with the cold and the heat, that either that broke some of the welding points, or that because of the transmission of vibration, it probably loosened some components on the board. So that's why it didn't work. So basically, I was able to reach about 30 point something kilometers per hour. I was able to do about 6 kilometers of range. So I'm a big guy, so I think that's probably why I don't get more range, but I can live with that. The power is not there. There's no torque, basically. It goes like it rolls forward, but to reach the full speed, it needs a good 20-30 seconds to get to that speed. Whereas right after that, I tested my in-laws boosted board, which was basically like a Formula One compared to an old Fiat. So you can see the difference right there. What else can I say about the Winboard? I would stay away from this company, mainly because they take like trucks, they take wheels, they take like a big battery and a PCB, and they just basically like MacGyver it together. There's no attention to details to the components themselves. All the wires are exposed. This thing is supposed to be waterproof because it has hub motors in the wheels, so the wheels themselves, they don't suffer from water. But the way that the back panel is attached with like 8 screws, water can leak in everywhere. So, and also one of the worst thing that can happened to me on that board. If you ever put your remote hand in your pockets because it's cold, like some mornings it was getting under 0, so I was riding at 20 to 25 kilometers per hour. Your hands are getting cold, so your reflex is to put them in your coat pockets. But if you do so, you cut the connection to the board. So if you remove your hands fast, the connection stays and you can proceed. But if you keep your hands inside your coat too long, let's say you were going like downhill and you just let go the throttle and let the board go at the current speed, then no more brakes, no more throttle. So that's a bit more scary when you go downhill at 25 or 30 kilometers per hour. So the solution was not to put my hands in my coat. So I was riding with one hand in my coat and one hand with the remote on my back. So, and also the other thing that you don't want happening when you ride a skateboard is that you ride over a crack, and that basically turns off the power button. So just by hitting this crack, the push button that is under the board that you have to press to turn on the board basically depressed himself. So I had no more power and no more control on the board. So that was my experience with the Winboard. The other thing that I've got since, I've got a Koowheel D3M second generation. I already posted a unboxing video and I did some B-roll footage, and I'm still need to film a bit more B-roll, hopefully today or tomorrow, or we get some time to do that with not too cold. So this one is much different. The quality much better. The connection is much stronger. But I'll do a full review when I'm done with the board. And also, as a first impressions, I also got a third board. So my kids are getting crazy. They're like, how many boards do you have? So I'm at 3 now. So the third one is the Juice board, the one I got last June. They basically had a bunch of problems, and they put a halt on shipping the boards to the backers because they wanted to get those problems fixed and ship a working board, basically. And at the same time, they were working on the next model, the next 2018 version. So they sent me a 2018 beta version of their board. So by the looks of it, it looks very much the same. 83mm wheels, 85A durometer wheels, still the same board. So it's a longboard style with a little bit flex on it. Not as flexible as a boosted board, but quite nice. But the cool thing is that it's much more torqueier. So it's 40% stronger. Meaning that when you are in the rabbit mode and you put it on high speed, when you press the throttle forward, it really goes much faster. So that's much, much fun to ride on. The ride feeling is amazing. These guys, they chose skateboard components to make a skateboard. We don't have people riding longboards for like 50 years for nothing. Like, they know what a longboard has to be a good experience. And they basically took that knowledge and applied a battery to it. So just right off the bat, riding the board is great. It's fun. It's carvier than before, probably because they changed the parts of the trucks. The trucks themselves, I think they're the same, but they probably changed the bushing so that now it's able to carve a little bit more, but not too much. So they're still, for my weight, they're still hard enough to be just a right middle ground. The remote is the same. The difference from when I had it is that the remote is now with a matte finish, so it's a bit more tackier, so it's all better in the hand. So that's okay. Top speed, I was able to reach 32 kilometers per hour, so that's pretty nice. Also, it's able to achieve that speed much, much faster than the Winboard, and not as fast as a belt-driven board like the boosted board, but it's very close. For a hub motor and something that is waterproof, that is pretty nice. So this one, you don't have any exposed battery. The battery itself and the controller are in casings that are custom made, that are waterproof, that are sealed tight. So they can get splashed on. That's not a problem. You can ride in water because the hub motors are not affected by that. The bearings are not waterproof, but that's something you can upgrade eventually if you prefer. But yeah, it's a great experience. In terms of range, it's hard now to say because it's very cold here in Montreal. So at those cold temperatures, battery usually goes down quite a lot. So in terms of power, I'm able to reach the power I need. But in terms of range, it still is quite positive. It advertises 11 kilometers of range, and I was able to go to work or back from work only one way and still have the green light flashing. Green light means it's over 50%. So for me, that would probably mean that I could go to and back from work on a single charge. I haven't tried it yet because of rain conditions and snow and everything, but if next week I can still do it, I'm going to try to do it on one single charge. And worst case, if I don't have any more battery when I get to Broussard, I can just keep pushing my way to home. So because it's a home motor, the resistance is very limited, very low, so you can just keep push like you normally would. So yeah, I'll report back with more specs, more details when I get my final say on this board. But for now, it's a good first impressions.
So now you have, just to recap, you have three, right? You have the Winboard, which is a piece of crap. You have the Juice Board, which is a like beta that you're testing out, but you already tried the like first gen Juice Board.
Yeah, in 2017. Yeah.
And I forget the name of the third one.
It's a Koowheel.
Cool.
Kooo.
Oh yeah,
like cool wheel. Yeah, the black one. Yeah. Yeah. So the Juice Board, I have to send it back afterwards because it's just a beta prototype. So nothing is finished with that. It's probably a bit of software and everything in the board. And at the same time, they asked me like, okay, here's a board, because the guy who makes the Juice Board, he's in Alberta, and he basically already has like a foot of snow on the ground, so he cannot ride his board. So he just came back from the manufacturer, and he had the board, and he's like, shit, I have to try it, I have to test it, but I don't have any place to go because there's snow outside. So he called me and said, hey, do you want to play with it for a while until you have snow in Montreal? Because I see that you still have nice weather for maybe a week or two. So I said, sure, send it over and I'll give you my experience. So in exchange for me having fun, I can just write a little Google Doc and share my notes with him. So he can probably fix a few things or makes things better with the final version of the 2018 board. So it's a win-win solution for me. Well, for us.
Because I'm looking at the weather right now, and it's supposed to snow on Monday.
Yeah,
Monday,
yeah,
Tuesday.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's going to go away. Maybe it's going to stay. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because Tuesday it's 8. Right now it's 8 to 17 centimeters, so it might stay.
Oof. Yeah, so maybe I can ride it again this weekend. So I need to charge my batteries and take all my B-roll footage to be able to make my video reviews. Being with this weather, I don't think I'll be able to make video reviews of the skateboards while driving them because it's cold as hell when you go 20 kph. So I tried to for fun, and I was just freezing my ass, and I said, no, I'm just gonna put my camera here, make a few moves here and there, turn those corners and everything, but I'm not gonna review it outside. So I might do it more of a MKBHD style. So basically standing in front of the camera and adding B-roll footage to what I'm saying, basically.
You can ride it inside the subway corridors.
Yeah, well, that would be fun, but
I don't think it's exactly legal.
No, yeah. One thing I thought of doing is trying to find an interior parking lot, or at least a big enough parking lot that I can ride the boards for a while. But it's not the best because, in Montreal, Rockland, it's not heated. It's cold, so cold ground and the retained wheels are not good friends. So the wheels would be hard and they would slide. So that's dangerous. But here in the Distrant, the underground parking is heated. So I could probably go there during winter with my skateboard and do a few laps. So
if you go super early in the morning, maybe,
or late at night, just after closing times.
Right.
So weekends after 5, and they have lights, so it's lighted already. So it should work. So I'll try that. Then maybe I could do more boards review during the winter, because there's a bunch of new boards coming out. The Riptide is coming out in January. There's this last week or 2 weeks ago, basically the boosted board, they released the extended battery. So if you bought your board in the last couple of years you were being able to purchase a extended battery for half price. So for 200 instead of 400, you would double your capacity. So that was released like in the last couple of weeks. So that's great for them. So people like my brother-in-law who has a boosted board probably got his battery, but like he's not gonna ride it. It's too cold. So maybe we could do this in the parking lot. So let me think about that, and if I can make it work, I'll do more reviews this weekend, this winter. All right, so that's it for episode 74. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/74. You can follow us on Twitter at _RGBAfm. And I'm on Twitter at Vallier, VALLIERES.
And I'm on Twitter at Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.